what happened on the market, on the whitefish market.
Okay, thank you. Well, in the report we focus on both on cod, haddock, saithe, and we take a look at the market's development out of Norway, and we take a look at the market development in Europe. In this month's report, particularly what is interesting is to focus on the status of the supply. And for cod, about 640,000 metric tons of the quota has already been caught, which leaves the supply being a little bit constrained for the remainder of the year. That's one point that I would like to stress. And secondly, what we have seen because of the prices in the cod market have been tough for the last year or so. However, we are seeing a price increase.
Why? Where does it come from? Is it consumer driven or it's supply driven? Where did it come from?
It is primarily, I would say, supply driven. So the prices in the market are, if you compare year on year, are slightly moving upwards. But what we would expect to see in the coming months is to see even further price increases because of more constraints being put on supply.
What kind of constraints?
We would expect the quotas in the Barents Sea to be lower in the fall.
Sorry to interrupt you. Who are the main suppliers in the whitefish market?
If you look at the whitefish markets, primarily if you look at cod, haddock and saithe, we are looking at Norway, Russia and Iceland, who are the biggest players. Then you have also European Union as a player in the market, but the supply in the European Union is consumed there.
What about the United States?
United States is not a big player in the cod business, with the exception of Pacific cod. But in our reports we've primarily been focusing on the North Atlantic, on the Atlantic cod and what is being caught in the North Atlantic. So we've not been focusing on so much on the Pacific, with the exception of we published a report on Alaska pollock.
So do we have any seasonal trends in the whitefish market, or it's stable through the year?
No, we have seasonal trends. We both have seasonal trends in terms of consumption of the product, and we have also what we could say seasonal trends in terms of the catch. So about 80% of the catch of Atlantic cod is being caught in the first 4 months of the year. And that is primarily being caught by Norway and Russia.
And then you have nothing to do for the rest of the year?
Now then, the Norwegians, they are becoming a primary supplier of raw material. And a lot of the cod that is being caught in Norway, or in Norwegian waters and in the Barents Sea, is being exported unprocessed to either to Europe, Denmark, also to a little bit to Eastern Europe, and then a lot of it is being exported to China, where it's being processed further and comes back into the European market as frozen goods.
So the largest market in the world does not consume whitefish?
That's correct. Does not consume Atlantic cod.
So they just process it?
They process it.
The richest country, Norway, in the world, does not process it, sends it back to China. Chinese process it, and then Europe buys it back. Is that the story?
As double frozen fillets, yes, that's the story.
Oh my God!
And that's also a lot of the cats from Russia also goes to China.
For the same reason as from Norway?
For the lack of processing capacity in Russia.
Okay, basically everything that is being caught in North Atlantic has to go to China for processing, or Iceland has any processing facilities?
No, we are talking about that it's about a little bit more than 1 million tons of cod that is being caught in the North Atlantic. And out of that, if we measure it in live weight, out of that about somewhere less than 200,000 tons, or less than 1/5 will go for processing in China.
Okay, what about the prices? They are, as you mentioned, they're slightly going up. Do you see that as a major trend? Will it continue to go up for the next year at least?
We would expect that prices will be moving slightly upwards in the next year. And I would expect that to be the case because of quota projections in the bounty.
Slightly meaning 1%, 5%?
It depends on the product categories. We would expect the fresh products to be increasing further in prices than, for example, the salted, dried and frozen products. And the fresh products, they are primarily driven by the catch in Iceland.
Okay, and who are the main consumers of that catch?
You mean fresh?
Yes, fresh.
You have a lot of retail chains in the UK, France, and more recently in the US that are starting to offer fresh cod in their on the shelves, and those are the primary consumers of this product are those that are kind of health conscientious consumers that are looking for high quality fish protein, and those are willing to pay higher prices than, for example, in those traditional markets where you only had frozen fillets and salted and dried meats.
So, as you've mentioned, people over 30 start to consume whitefish. Is it the trend? Is it the growing trend, or it's known fact for years?
It is. It's been like that for a long time. So that fish consumption is really, the younger generation is not consuming as much fish as the older generation.
So what other aspects does your report cover?
Well, the report primarily focuses on the trade flow, on how is the stage of supply, where does the supply come from, where does it go into its markets, and what are the price developments. And we look at 13 different product categories for cod, for example, and look at how that goes into a specific market and which are the prices for the product in those markets.
Very interesting. So we look forward to your next month's report. Thank
Thank
you.
you.